But the other is the government part of this, not the private sector part of this, which is the EITC and the CTC. They are great things, and they've probably done more to lift people out of poverty than any other single act of the government. So at a time when the poverty rate is increasing, at a time when we're worried about incomes of those in the middle class and working class and the poor, there's nothing we could do better than strengthen the EITC. Here's what studies have shown. The two tax credits lifted 10 million people. That's a large amount of people. 5.3 million children out of poverty, bringing parents back to the workforce. It's also a provision that has the support of some conservatives because it involves work, at least the EITC does. And so it's the kind of thing that garners more support. I think a couple of the Republican presidential candidates have come out for it. And Paul Ryan, whose budget is way over to the right, but he does support the EITC. He does support the EITC. Now, these provisions are about to expire. They'll expire in 2017. And these days, with the gridlock in Congress, say, oh, they'll be renewed. Not so sure. And by the way, we're not here to talk about it, but I'd also throw in something I authored, the AOTC, the Opportunity Tax Credit, which is aimed at more middle-class people, but it's refundable. So a lot of poor people benefit as well. But all of them expire, and in the Congresses in the future, 2017, we don't know if they'll be renewed. We don't even know if there's a Democratic Democratic Senate and Democratic President, which I think are real possibilities if the House would renew them, where they wouldn't say, well, we'll renew it, but we'll cut this, 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 and this. So getting these renewed is really important, and not kicking the can down the road is important too. So we want to do as much as we can, and as Ron mentioned, we have a little leverage. A lot of remember, the Republicans control the House and Senate, unfortunately, in my opinion. And they want to make permanent some of these business tax breaks. So the purpose of today's event is to say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to make business tax breaks permanent, we want the EITC and the CTC made permanent. That is my inexorable position. It is the inexorable position of Harry Reid and a large number of my colleagues in the Democratic caucus. And it gives us some leverage. So right now as we speak, negotiations are going on to do just that, to say, okay, one or the other. How are they going, these negotiations? Well, they have their ups and downs every 6 hours. And while our Republican colleagues absolutely know that we will not support, we have the leverage in the Senate at least to block it, and maybe even in the House, because there are a good number of hard-right Republicans who won't vote for anything, so it may well be that Speaker Ryan needs Leader Pelosi's votes to carry things. But we will not vote for any permanent business tax extension if we don't get permanent EITC and CA. And one of our challenges is to balance it. We don't want to get $100 for business tax credits for $10 of poor people tax credits. So we're fighting that. So, if the provisions in these tax credits expire, married couples and larger families currently receiving EITC, lower income families receiving the CTC would lose a lot of benefits. Listen to this. A single mother with 2 children earning less than $14,600, working full-time at federal minimum wage would lose the entire $1,700 child tax credit. Do you know what that does to someone making $14,000? It's just incredible. I mean, I talk to people like this. If I had a minute, I'd tell you about someone I've become friends with named Shakira, who cleans toilets at Kennedy Airport. I invited her to be my guest at the State of the Union in support of raising the minimum wage. Another important thing we can do, but that's not part of this negotiation. Anyway, you know, if she were to lose this $1,700, right now she can't take her kids out to a restaurant, can't buy Christmas presents for her kids because she's getting paid so little. Anyway, so our most vulnerable families on the verge of poverty just can't afford to lose these benefits. Allowing these provisions to expire would hurt hardworking moms and dads who are trying to make a better life for themselves and their children. And so that's why we're saying, we want to make these permanent, no ands, ifs, or buts. And here's my friend and colleague from the Bronx,